Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. So there was the big Grenfell fire in the UK. So there it is. That happened because of neoliberalism. Got to make a profit, baby. Got to cut corners. Come on. What do you mean? What do I mean by that? First of all, it says the fire was allegedly spread because of the cladding. The cladding meaning the outside of the building, they would put up in sections, and those sections were flammable. And why did they do that? Because they saved a couple of bucks per clad. That's why they did that. And why else were they allowed to do that? Why else did a fire like that happen and it wasn't stopped? There wasn't a sprinkler system. There wasn't hoses. There wasn't better. Why? Well, because government ministers congratulated themselves for cutting fire regulations. That's how that starts. That's how it happens. First of all, the way it starts is you do an Orwellian trick with the language. You don't call them protections. You call them regulations, right? So now people say, "Oh, they're environment regulations," and nobody likes authority. So people go, "Ugh, regulations. Can't we cut the regulations?" But if you called it environmental protections, worker protections, fire safety protections, all of a sudden people like them more. But that's why they don't call them that. They call them regulations. Nobody likes regulations. So just watch that all the time. So that's another thing that's pervasive in our culture. Nobody calls the things what they're supposed to be called, right? We call it the Patriot Act. It's really the Anti-Patriot Act. It's the opposite of being a patriot. Patriot's supposed to stand up for liberty and freedom in the face of fascism, not give in to fascism because you're afraid. That's what the Patriot Act is.
But no one knew that because nobody read it.
Right. So here's what it says. It says in February this year, ministers, this is the conservative ministers, meaning politicians in the UK, posted on a government website details of their anti-red tape agenda on new build properties. Anti-red tape? Everybody's against red tape. It's red tape? Really? We got to get rid of red tape. Red tape. It's just unnecessary BS. That's what red tape is. You get rid of the red tape so people who can do stuff they want to do. Like what? Like build buildings for poor people in a really most unsafe way possible. Get rid of that red tape so the people who want to do stuff can do it. What stuff? Do stuff that's really unsafe and probably kills, I don't know, maybe close to 100 people. That's what getting rid of that red tape is. So in a separate report, fire inspections, conservatives said, have been reduced for some companies from 6 hours to just 45 minutes. So now when they used to spend 6 hours on making sure a building was safe from fire and had all the proper safety protections, now they got it down to 45 minutes. You just show up, you bring coffee to the guy, you have a little coffee, you walk around the outside of the building, and you got on your next one.
What do you? Yeah, you just like knock on the surface, be like, yeah, I think it's good. I think we're good. I think we're done here.
Looks fire safe. Let's knock on it. Yep. Solid.
That ain't going down.
I put a lighter to it. Didn't go up. Let me see. Let's see. Here's my fire test. Nope. It's good.
All right, we're good. Roger that.
We're good.
Checking it off.
The move, titled Cutting Red Tape, which, as Ron pointed out earlier, is a great, really inventive name. Those guys are writers. Hey, we have this cutting red tape legislation. What should we call it? Call it the cutting red tape legislation. Oh, my God. Sometimes the fastball down the middle is the way to go, huh? The move, titled Cutting Red Tape, was part of the Tory plans. The Tories who just got their ass kicked by Jeremy Corbyn. The Tories' plans to abolish health and safety culture that they claimed was hurting money-making businesses. A health and safety culture. You got to get rid of that health and safety culture. Who wants a culture about health and safety? We want a culture about making money, baby, and cutting corners to do it. And if people got to die, they got to die. We got to make a profit quarterly. Residents in Grenfell Tower block have complained that their homes were not properly fire safe, including a lack of sprinkler and alarms. No
bunch
kidding.
Of buzzkills living there. Jeez, complaining.
Yeah.
Fire safety.
You crazy lefty socialists and your sprinklers. Former Prime Minister David Cameron Remember, Cameron had to resign because he called for a vote on Brexit because he was so confident. And then what happened? They exited Brexit. Oh, my God. And he was wrong. Turns out all these big shot people who are supposed to be the smartest guys in the country have no idea what's actually going on in their own country. No idea how people actually feel. So he had to Amscray, and then they got this Theresa May, who she just got her ass handed to her. She called for an election because she thought she was going to win too. Got her ass kicked. These are brilliant people. This is the elite. This is why I have a show. Because the people who are supposed to be informing us are just as dumb as the people who are supposed to be leading us. Former Prime Minister David Cameron promised to abolish the albatross of overregulation. You know what happens when you get rid of that albatross of overregulation? I'll show you what happens. I'm glad we got rid of that albatross of overregulation. Oh, you know what? Sure, you see dozens and dozens of people burning alive. You see that. Grandmas, babies, artists, teenagers. You see them all burning alive. But guess what you don't see? I don't see an albatross. So, got rid of that albatross. He said in 2012 that a conservative government would kill off the health and safety culture for good. Boy, you certainly did that. They killed off the health and safety culture. You had to kill off some, some citizens too to do it, but you did it. You burned them alive. You got rid of that health and safety culture. Let's get a reckless and profit culture. Let's get a corporate profit culture. That's what this is about. It's called neoliberalism. The death toll from the fire in Kensington is expected to rise to almost 100. More than 2,400 pieces of regulation have been scrapped since cut red tape began. So let me read that in another way. More than 2,400 pieces of fire safety protections have been scrapped since cut red tape began. How about that? That's another way you could say it. I'm sure all those 2,400 pieces that have been scrapped weren't all to do with fire, but let's just put it that way. Hey, more than 2,400 pieces of citizen protections have been scrapped since cut red tape began. That's really what that says.
And, their economic argument is very strong, too, because it's not like it costs much money to replace a building. It's not like that's expensive or anything.
So does this mean that all those ministers are going to go ahead and serve time for manslaughter?
I'm going to probably guess nobody. Nobody went to jail for the Iraq War. Nobody went to jail when they crashed the economy while stuffing their... No one goes to jail for ordering war crimes. Nobody lost their job at the Washington Post or the New York Times for beating the drum for war and telling everybody that they had weapons of mass destruction. You know who did get fired? Chris Hedges, the guy who told the truth about the Iraq War. Nobody goes to jail, gets punished if you're in the establishment and you're committing crimes at the behest of the establishment. You know who goes to jail in the Western culture is the people who call whistleblowers. Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, James Risen. That's our culture now. Do you see? So there's Theresa May. Did you see all the white shirts? That's like the police captains and all the big shots, right? And they're all standing around with their hands behind their backs, like real polite, like real upper crusty stuff. And what does the tweet say? The tweet says, "Bit shite that Theresa May decided against meeting or speaking to a single resident or survivor, but she did arrange a photo op with firefighters." Here's the difference. People were tweeting about this and talking about it a lot. There's Theresa May, right? And there she is walking around. There's Jeremy Corbyn. A little different. Huh? Here's another one. There's Jeremy Corbyn hugging a woman. There's Theresa May standing around. Won't talk. I can't have contact with actual people. Here's another one. Here's Jeremy Corbyn. There's another one. The guy says, Jeremy Corbyn busy being the prime minister we haven't got. Yep.
She could not look more disinterested.
Could she not?
Just a look on her face. She's just like, oh, I wonder what's on the BBC later. Like, she looks like she could not give two shits.
She couldn't give one shit. Here's Jeremy Corbyn responding to the Grenfell fire. Want to hear how he responded? He actually went and talked to the people.
Needs you, do you know what I mean? And this community someone has to be held accountable, someone has to be held responsible. We do not want this kicked into the long grass. We do not want the government to sort of hide this with some hollow platitude that lessons will be learnt. We've heard
Emma
that.
is your MP.
Emma
She
is
will
our
speak
MP.
for this community. John Healy is our housing spokesperson is here. He will speak up for us. I will speak up for all of you because we have to get to the bottom of this. The truth has got to come out, and it will.
So there's Jeremy Corbyn and all the people in his shadow government actually meeting with the people. Actually there firsthand and promising that they will get to the bottom of it. They're actually there. Unlike Theresa May. You want to see how Theresa May handles it? This is what happens to Theresa. That's how Theresa May handles stuff. How's that neoliberalism working out for you? Just to run to her car. It's the leader of the country. Has to run to her car and everybody's afraid that something's going to happen. That's not bad. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that they're afraid of the people. I think that's good to see her run to her car. She has to feel the wrath of regular people who've been screwed over for decades now. And they've been handed a shit sandwich and they've been told it's good for them. You know, I heard Chris Hedges tell a story that Henry Kissinger told in his book about protesters being outside the White House, anti-war protesters, and they had lined up, there were so many of them, they had lined up school buses in case they broke through the gates, the fences, that they would have this barrier. And Henry Kissinger said to the president, Mr. President, what's the matter? He said, I'm afraid, Henry, if they break through the gates, they'll come for us. And Chris Hedges says, that's exactly where we want them. Because right now, they don't care about you. They'll poison your water. They'll beat your head in to do it. They'll steal your house right out from underneath you to enrich some oligarch on Wall Street, and they'll beat your head in to do it, just like they cracked the heads of peaceful protesters across the country. They'll beat your head in if you don't go to war. They'll beat your head in if you don't go to school. They'll beat your head in if you stand up for yourself. They'll beat your head in if you try to unionize. They'll beat your head in if you protest this neoliberal nightmare that has been brought to America by Democrats and Republicans alike. They will beat your head in. Now the people are starting to rise up. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like when neoliberals have to answer